Finally, his Full Employment and Balanced Growth Act sought to make a job a right, but Congress eliminated this and made full employment a goal rather than a mandated target. Significantly, both as a senator in 1964 and as vice president in early 1965, Humphrey, almost alone among senior officials, warned Johnson against expanding the Vietnam conflict. It could not be won by military means, he said, but only by winning hearts and minds through a lengthy reform process. Prolonged fighting would fracture the political coalition that made the Great Society possible. This brought the vice president painful exile from Johnson's White House, until he gave in to becoming the administration's spokesman for the war, which he said sought to defeat communism and to bring Great Society programs to South Vietnam. But his backing of the war cost him support of his liberal constituency. Humphrey finally proposed to wind down the war during his 1968 presidential campaign, and he swiftly regained his broad-based following. However, Johnson seriously undermined him because he believed Richard Nixon's position on the war to be closer to his, despite evidence that the Republican candidate and his aides were urging the governments of South and North Vietnam not to attend the Paris peace talks with a view to gaining a better settlement if he was elected president. After trailing Nixon by about 18 points, Humphrey lost the election by only the narrowest of margins. He might have won, or thrown the election into the democratically controlled House of Representatives, but for Johnson's betrayal of him. Humphrey's exceptional legislative and political achievements have been largely overlooked. Whereas he declared to his Senate colleagues in 1957, "I am a liberal without apology," the rise of conservatism in recent decades has led many Democrats to shy from identifying as liberals or with that political tradition, contributing to the lack of acknowledgment of his pioneering work shaping the liberal programs and traditions that buttress our modern order. Further, scholars of recent American history have preferred to focus on presidents and their accomplishments. Carl Solberg's early 1984 book, Hubert H. Humphrey, A Biography, is the only full study of him and is very brief on Humphrey's career after 1968. Solberg did not have benefit of access to the reorganized, extensive collection of Hubert H. Humphrey papers at the Minnesota State Historical Society in St. Paul, the vast trove of personal papers and government records now available at the Lyndon Baines Johnson Presidential Library at the University of Texas, along with recently declassified U.S. Department of State and National Security Council records, and the important scholarship of the past 3 decades about American history. My biography assesses Humphrey's significant impact on American politics and his exceptional legislative achievements, his long and complex relationship with Lyndon Johnson, his shifting views on the Vietnam War, and the Minnesotan's post-1970 Senate career. During this latter period, he powerfully affected Democratic Party policy and its choice of national candidates, pressed major congressional, domestic, and foreign policy legislative initiatives, and became President Carter's chief ally in the Senate. Humphrey's political record is of great relevance in the current era, when issues of civil rights, including voting and wages, as well as jobs, national health care, U.S. involvement in civil and regional crises, and negotiation of nuclear accords, are high on the nation's political agenda, and his maxim that compromise is not a dirty word seems to have been forgotten by too many politicians. Prologue. Hubert H. Humphrey's political stars were not favorably aligned in early 1948.